Fatherland videos. We got a mythology read tonight from Epic Tales, Heroes and Heroines. Forward by Maria Tartar and Flame Tree Publishing. We're on page 353. Hou-Ji, the Ice Child. Jian Yuan was one of the four wives of Diku, god of the East. For many years, the couple had tried to have a child together, but they had not been successful, and their marriage was not a very happy one as a result. One day, however, Jian Yuan was walking along by the riverbank when she spotted a trail of large footprints in the earth. She was intrigued by them and began to follow where they led, placing her own tiny feet in the hollows of the ground. She was unaware that by doing this, she would conceive a child, and not long afterwards, she gave birth to a son, an event which under normal circumstances would have brought her great joy. But Jian Yan was filled with shame to see the tiny bundle wiggling in her arms, knowing that she had absolutely no knowledge of his father, and realizing that she would have great difficulty explaining the infant's birth to her husband. Jian Yang made up her mind to dispose of the child before she became a victim of scandalous gossip and derision. So she took the baby to a deserted country land and left him to perish in the cold among the sheep and cattle. But then a strange thing happened, for instead of rejecting the baby and trampling him to death, the sheep and cattle treated him as one of their own, carrying him to a nearby barn where they nestled up close to him and kept him warm and suckled him with their own milk until he grew fit and strong. Now Jian Yang had sent her scouts into the countryside to make sure that her unwanted child no longer lived. The news that he had survived and that he was being cared for by the animals of the pastures threw her into a fit of rage, and she ordered her men to take the infant deep in the forest to the most deserted spot they could find, where he was to be abandoned without any food or water. Jian Yang's messengers performed this duty exactly as they had been commanded, but again, fate intervened to save the child. For one morning, a group of woodcutters who had traveled into the heart of the forest to find sturdier trees spotted the child crawling through the undergrowth. Alarmed by his nakedness and grimy appearance, they immediately swept him up off the ground and carried him back to their village. Here, the woman Qingti, who was herself without child, took charge of the infant. She wrapped him in warm clothing and filled him with the nourishing food until gradually he grew plump and healthy. His foster mother doted on her son, and it brought her great pleasure to see him thrive in her care. But again, Jian Yang managed to track down the child, and this time she was resolved to stop at nothing until she was certain of his destruction. And so, at last resort, she carried him herself to a vast frozen river in the north, where she stripped him naked and threw him onto the ice. For 2 years, the infant remained on the frozen waters, but from that very first day, he was protected from the piercing cold by a flock of birds who took in turn to fly down with morsels of food and to shelter him under their feathered wings. The people grew curious to know why the birds swooped on to the icy surface of the river every day when clearly there was no fish to be had. Eventually, a group of them set off across the ice to investigate further, and soon they came upon a young child curled up against the warm breast of a motherly seagull. They were amazed at the sight and took it as a sign that the child had discovered was no ordinary mortal, but a very precious gift from the gods. They rescued the young boy and named him Hou-Ji, and as they watched him grow among them, his outstanding talents began to manifest themselves one by one. Hou-Ji became an excellent farmer in time, but he did not follow any conventional model. He was born a leader, and from a very early age, he had learned to distinguish between every type of cereal and edible grain. He made agricultural tools for the people, such as hoes and spades, and soon the land delivered up every variety of crop, including wheat, beans, rice, and large succulent wild melons. The people had a bountiful supply of the food, and when the emperor himself heard of Hou-Ji's great work, he appointed him a minister of the state so that his knowledge of agriculture was spread throughout the nation. When Hou-Ji died, he left behind a 5-crop stone, which guaranteed the Chinese people a constant supply of food even in times of famine. He was born on Duang's plain, a magnificent region of rolling hills and clear flowing rivers where the land has always remained exceptionally fertile.